Like, don't think for a second that how we treat immigrants won't spill over into how we treat Americans, even our beloved drivers. Run that clip, Dwayne.
Well, 24 people have been indicted after the feds busted what they call a modern-day slavery ring as part of years-long investigation called Operation Blooming Onion. At least 100 immigrant workers were freed from conditions in which 2 people died. Another was repeatedly raped, and others were kidnapped and threatened with death. Southern Georgia, the Justice Department says exploitation of the workers included being required to dig onions with their bare hands, paid 20 cents for each bucket harvested, and threatened with guns and violence to keep them in line. The workers were held in cramped, unsanitary quarters and fenced work camps with little or no food, limited plumbing, and without safe water.
Thank you for having me. Officials told me and my colleague Phil McCausland that this is one of the country's largest human trafficking and visa fraud investigations. Investigators say that for years, these individuals brought Mexican and Central American immigrants to the U.S. under false pretenses and forced them to work in brutal conditions. And as you said, 2 people allegedly died under those conditions and others faced violence and threats of violence.
Danielle, the DOJ says the ring's organizers took advantage of a migrant visa program to bring these workers to the U.S. How did they exactly do that? Is there some sort of loophole there?
Right. So investigators say the migrants were brought to the U.S. under the federal visa program for guest farm workers, known as the H-2A visa. So last year, an NBC News investigation that I was a part of found that as this program has grown, it's left more guest workers vulnerable to abuses. So while federal laws are supposed to ensure decent working conditions, guest workers themselves and advocates say victims are reluctant to speak out about abuses when the employers are in charge of their housing, transportation, pay, and of course, ability to stay in the U.S. Yes, so the charges in this case are related to forced labor, mail fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit such crimes. And defendants face charges that can carry up to a life sentence.
Danielle, you write that this operation is part of a new immigration enforcement effort by ICE. So what's different about it?
Right. So ICE said this investigation shows a shift to a focus on cracking down on bad employers who are exploiting people because of their immigration status through such brutal work conditions, lack of payment, and other abuse in order to maximize profits.
Look at it. Lack of payment and other abuses to maximize profits. It's funny. I'm not attacking truckers, but I wonder if how many truckers realize that the treatment that they're experiencing really kind of mirrors the treatment that immigrants, the migrant workers who have been enslaved in this country to make these quarterly profit margins. So I'm sorry, Rebecca, that's what it reminded me of when you were talking about that story that you experienced at your job.
Every place will have a slavery model where they're paying people pennies to a dollar and controlling them and messing up their thought process on, America will make you think you are so lazy. And I understand this. I was talking to my girlfriend last night and I was like, hey, when you're working somewhere, mama, my mom was calling me. When you're working somewhere, we have to respect where we're working. I'm not going to not show up to the show. I'm not going to not work for the company that I don't like that I'm working for. I need this money. And I also know I'm working for them. I'm going to respect, the fact that I work for them. I need to do the work while I'm there, like whatever. Now, I'm not going to let them abuse me, but I need to do that. But the things that they do to make you think, the things that they do that make you think you really, really can't be without this job. And if you don't work and if you don't overwork, you're lazy. They'll highlight the person that's literally like breaking their back, bending over underground, sideways, up in the air for the company. They'll highlight that person and be like, oh, wow, Bob, you are so great. Shaquan is doing so great. And that's all they do is send an email out to say that that person is doing great. And now they make you feel less than, although you are doing what you were hired to do. So they'll make you feel this kind of way. And I feel bad because these truck drivers are sometimes driving out of their range, being, their payments and stuff are being taken from them. Now we see, or shorted. Now we see these immigrants who are on these farms. It's modern day slavery. It's slavery happening right now. Like being able to pick onions for these farmers and these places. And 20 cents. 20 cents an hour, was it?
20 cents. I think 20 cents a bucket of onions.
Dude, that can't
which
do nothing.
like it's like how much were they giving enslaved people for a bushel of cotton, right?
She said sometimes not even $100 for a 3 a.m. to 5 p.m. And she said, "What are you going to do? Starve? What are we going to do? We had to do what we needed to do." So that's what these people are thinking. I can't even imagine right now for even the pay that I get paid at my corporate job. It's not enough for me to live. 20 cents.
Every one of these companies at the end of the day will utilize. Think about the prison system. Think about the labor that's one of the workers in the candle factory that collapsed during the tornado was a prisoner on a work release program. How much you want to bet he wasn't making but 20 cents a day, something like that, risking his life. So, yeah, no, I really want people to understand that as you're driving your truck and you're listening to, well, Rush Limbaugh is dead, so you're not listening to that dead man anymore. But as you're listening to, I don't know, Dan Bongino or whoever the right wing has put up to make you angry while you're driving. The truth of the matter is they're making you angry at the people that you need to be in solidarity with, because the same people exploiting you are exploiting immigrants, are exploiting Black people, exploiting marginalized people, exploiting all of us.